Good night, Sports Frenzy family. Thanks again for joining us on the cricket podcast tonight. We're joined by Devin, the all-rounder, making himself a regular on the cricket shows on Thursdays. You know, he might try learn the thing and he might get there to the guru status. Big up yourself, boss. Thanks for joining me tonight. And we also have making his debut, you know, the man you guys love in the football section, Ruan the Guru. You know, he's also joining us tonight for the cricket podcast. So we're gonna chop it up a bit about the West Indies. As you can see in the headlines, you know, inexperienced West Indies swept in the T20 series, and I have, you know, West Indies whitewashed because, you know, I'm pretty tough. So obviously we played 3 games. Some people say that we fought, you know, we put up a fight with the inexperienced team that we have, and it's like, you know, we're playing up against a strong Pakistan team, and it's not like, you know, we were expected to go over there and beat them with the team. You know, they just had an excellent World Cup. Many had them as favorites. Many had them going all the way, and it didn't happen. And they're ranked number 3 in the world. So it's like, you know, they're a class team. And this West Indies team is basically geared towards going to the future, especially with the World Cup coming up in Australia, which I think a lot of these guys are going to be in contention to start and to get picked. All right, so I'm going to talk about that for a bit. We're not talk about the games them like individually, you know, we're going to talk about it as a whole. So for me, I don't know what you guys made of it, but let me just get some house cleaning out of the way. Guys, remember, big up Pepe Paul, big up Michelle. Remember to like the video, remember to share, remember to comment, remember to subscribe to the Sports Frenzy. You guys are doing great. And don't worry, we'll have our merch soon, and we'll have our Sports Frenzy shirt on Thursdays when we do the cricket show. So that's coming. Also, for those who didn't know, the ODI series, because of the whole corona outbreak, that's postponed until June. I heard them announce that. So we won't be playing any ODIs. It was just because the 2 captains came together today to make that last T20 game go ahead. They decided to, you know, they have to please the fans, and they weren't going to cut it short. So they ended up playing the game, and, you know, it was a good spectacle for the fans to come out. So no ODI, so we won't be talking about that until June, and then, you know, we'll move from there. So guys, throughout this whole thing, right? For me, I always start with selection. Yeah, the selection of the team. I mean, we're gonna talk about all 3 games as on a whole, right? But I'm gonna just bring out a couple. So obviously the team, for those who don't know, we got struck by some COVID issues. Chase, Mears, Cottrell, they got struck down for the first game, and then later on, Shea Hope, Hussein, Greaves as players, and I heard that Dr. Akshay Mansingh also got COVID. So we got some COVID issues, so that's why a lot of the guys didn't play. And then now we get to the first game. Player selection for me, I saw Devon Thomas in the team, and Brandon King. So if you didn't watch the show that we did about when the squad was selected, please go back and watch that, because I bashed Brandon King. I was like, he had no reason to be there. And before anybody come at me, listen to me. Brandon King flopped at the CPL in 2020, and he flopped in 2021, and he was living off his 2019 name. And for me, he didn't justify a spot in the team. No, him shut me up. He is right up there and fine, but for me at the time, he wasn't justified. So Rowan, the team selection and build up towards the game, how do you feel when we were going into the game?
Totally concur with you, Dima, and good night to Devin, and obviously good night to the persons who are following the podcast. As you mentioned, in my estimation, I was averse to the selection of King because I'm always a stickler for you get picked based on your performance and show me what you have done recently. And recently, Brandon King, sadly to see, because when you see him today, especially Demo, such an easy player on the eye, and he's basically able to clear any ground. He made
Yep.
the Karachi stadium look distinctly small. So this is someone who.
You soon gone there, Rowan. Go again?
But unfortunately,
Yeah.
based on what we saw last year and this year as well, he did not deserve a spot in the team, in my estimation, to begin with. But there were other issues that I was not totally in agreement with. I think Rampal, despite his advancing age, had made a strong case to be selected. I know the thing is, Demo and Devin, if we're going to have a clear path in terms of, all right, we're going forward, so we're going to phase out person the wrong side at 30. That's different. But you saw an amalgamation of ages in the squad where you saw players probably at the wrong end at the 30 yard 30 year line, and those just starting their careers. So I would have wanted a clear distinction as to the path that we're going to take, because obviously with so many players who had been what you would consider to be the spine of the team for the better part of a decade, and in the case of Gale, 2 decades, with those players no longer around, you wanted to see this being used as an opportunity for the younger players to play. So if it's a case where Rampal wasn't going to play, then you could make a case where others who actually got a look in shouldn't have looked in. I wouldn't even speak about Devon Thomas, because I thought that his race had long been run, guys. And the funny thing is, Thomas, when you just burst onto the scene, remember this was a talented player who many had high expectations for, because able to to contribute down the order, can even bat higher up when required.
Yeah, yep, yep.
Remember, he even had a fleeting appearances when he shunned the gloves and he was even bowling I dare say
Yep.
above 140 clicks. So this is a talented individual, but sadly he hasn't uh, uh, given us what we expected in those early years, when we thought he would have been an instrumental part of the squad going forward, someone to challenge and eventually usurp the incumbent at the time, Dinesh Ramdin. So I wasn't totally confident about the squad to begin with, and then when we actually started playing the games, it was clear that we did not have the bowling nose, because yes, we didn't make runs before we actually played today, because nowadays you really have to be able to score 180 almost at will, and I didn't think that we bowled well. The thing is, guys, I'm always someone who says, if we're going to bowl, we're going to have to bowl a hard length. Even someone like Thomas, he has no in between. He's either too full or he's too
Too
short.
short. Mm-hmm.
So when you're able to hit that hard length, like for instance, this is a small sample size because we're just using today's particular game. When you saw Dahani, very very slippery by the way, and he had raised eyebrows earlier in the PSL, and he showed it today where he was hustling the batsman for pace, and 4 overs for 23 runs, guys, on a pitch like that. Because it's an absolute belter. When the other bowlers were going for like 12 runs per over, he was getting to the batsman much quicker than they thought. So, but he was also able to hit that in between length that they weren't too sure if they should go back or they should go forward. He was always basically catching them on the move, and with that extra piece. So I expected someone like Thomas. Odin Smith, he had tugs wagging in the region, but he didn't. He seemed to lack that extra yard that he
Wait,
has.
Ron. I know why you got your state, because we have a special segment for those guys in the bar. We just want to give an overview, and then we get into them specifically. But I
So
like that. Yeah, go.
in closing, right now, I wasn't in agreement with the selection to begin with, obviously, as I mentioned. And when we started to play the games, I was disappointed in our inability to bowl as a collective. I was impressed today with the debutant Gunakesha Moti to bowl 4 overs for 29 runs on such a pitch with two informed batsmen, especially in the case of Rizwan, and they're difficult players to bowl to, guys, because these are batsmen who you you struggle to tie them because you're able to score right around, and when Babar decides to go along, he can clear the boundaries as well. So it was heartening to see how well he bowled today, and I thought we missed someone like Hussein on a pitch like this, because we saw where Hussein probably could have had the same impact as Mosey, or even with his experience being able, albeit not much because he was also inexperienced,
Yeah,
but being able to probably keep it below 30 runs from his 4 overs. But I thought, guys, in closing, that we were based on our bowling attack, I thought we were at least 20 runs below. Even though we did scale 200, I thought we needed to be around 220, 230 with our inexperienced bowling attack to really, really make a strong fist of it. And it panned out, guys, because if you look, we didn't even get them into the 20th over, because they finished in the
exactly.
19th over. So
Mhm.
we were a bit runs short. Short. I thought we left some runs definitely out there.
All right, boss. Big up. Thanks for that. Big up yourself, Kims. I saw Kims in the chat earlier. Big up yourself, and thanks to Ryan just joined us as well. I mean,
Yeah, man.
you know, everybody wants a piece of the cricket podcast. But Devin, so yeah, give us your overall thoughts of, you know, the selection,
Yeah.
and your thoughts coming into these 3 games.
All right. So
Wait, let me just read Kim's comment. Rowan saying closing about 5 times. Man, love the analysis. And the boss, man, and the guru, you know. All right, go ahead, David.
yeah, just to mention, like I was in favor of like even from the World Cup squad when people were knocking Rampal. You know, I was one of those defending Rampal, right? Because people were saying, "Oh, Rampal this," and then I always make the comparison, right? You got to be consistent in what you're saying. People said, "Oh, Chase do it, and Chase deserve to be in there. Chase did well in the CPL. Rampal did well in the CPL too. So if you're gonna say, okay, Chase should have been in there, then Rampal should be there as well. You know, so I think Rampal could have been in this.
Yeah, but remember when we were doing the World Cup squad, I brought the numbers in, and it wasn't just the CPL.
Right.
Rampal's white ball cricket. He was playing in England. He was one of the best bowlers for his club. He came to the Super 50. He was one of the best bowlers. His white ball cricket was next level. But people were just saying, "Oh, him an old man and him a big belly." And they weren't giving no cricket reasons, you know. Just him an old man and him belly big and all this nonsense. But
so going back to this, I would have loved to see him in the squad based on that as well. And then as it relates to the thing is, like with the selection for the games, like Thomas was in, and the only reason he was out was because he got injured.
Yeah, right? Devon, he fractured his finger.
So that means he would have been playing. He would have still been playing. He would have still been playing, and he has no reason to be in that team. I'm just happy for King, and I'm hopeful that, you know, he just continued to be this consistent. And we were all saying he did deserve it from that time when earlier on, because we would know he would have had this performance, but based on merit, he would not have been deserved. He would not have been deserving of a call up being in the team. But you know, he did well, and we're hoping that going forward now with Gill not being around, and you know, even Simmons and them guys, you know, probably not having the best run, he could complement Lewis, our right hand and left hand combination, and see how well it works. So West Indies going in the future.
Yeah,
like, the bowling itself, just overall to the guy. Aiden Walsh Jr., he didn't really have any good tournament in the World Cup. And then the go-to guy, he could have gotten some games, right? He waited until the last game he played. I would have liked to see him gotten some more games from like a game 1 or a game 2. I don't see no reason why the other bowlers could have been in there over him.
All right, fair enough. Ryan, your thoughts quickly. Selection and your thoughts going into the game, you know, faced with an inexperienced West Indies team and you know, facing this top Pakistani team.
All right. As it relates to selection, let me just brush on the World Cup and come back to everything in one. During the World Cup, there were some players who I never wanted to be in the squad that were in it. However, that said and done, after the World Cup, I said that players were 35 and over, given that we're going into a new cycle, we should leave those guys out. So like the guys who are like 34 who have an next cycle in them, like a year or 2 year cycle, where you can bring them into another World Cup to see what they are about. The Andre Russells, the Pollards, those guys who still cutting it at the highest level in IPL and so forth. They have a next cycle in them at least. So you want to give them a next run.
Yep.
Because the World Cup is next year, right? So you can easily keep those guys around. The Simmons and the Rampals and so forth, and the Gales, those guys should go because they are near to 40 or in Gale's case, 40. So their time was up in my book. So given that the selection of the squad, I think it was more geared towards giving those guys who perform in the CPL and didn't get a chance. Yeah, I think they were gearing towards that more because in all honesty, it was a weak team, a weak squad in terms of those who went and those who could have gone over, some who went. So yeah, it was a weak squad. I didn't really have much expectation, given that we were going up against prime Pakistan. I see where Puran was saying that he does not understand why they are not doing certain things right in terms of batting. But it's a lot of things. Inexperience, bad shot selection. The teams have caught up with our power hitting. We are not as good as we were in power hitting. We don't rotate the strike that well. So it's a whole amalgamation of things that has caused us to be where we are. But if we're honest with ourselves, I think what we should do is, I don't mind the squad. I don't mind losing either, because it will give us an opportunity to use some players and to see how good they are. They can cut it at the international level. Akil Hussain right now he's the new ball bowler, if we're going to be honest about it.
Wow, look at that. Wait, look at that. You remember when we did this draft thing here? We did this draft T20 team, we did this draft T20 the other day, right? For the World Cup. And I had Akil Hussain in my team, and I get some beating in the comments. Oh, me the only one who pick a West Indian, like me don't know what me I do. Akil Hussain is an exceptional new ball bowler, and I'm so happy for the man doing so.
Akil reminds me of remember when we had Badri?
Yes.
And Badri was our new ball bowler up the top as a spinner. Akil can do a job because remember Fabian Allen was also doing it, but then he went down injured.
Yep.
Now Akil, the man is bowling 4 overs less than 20 runs. And them something there. So yeah, he should be given the opportunity to be that bowler, to be that guy. Fabian Allen will obviously come back. But he is a cricketer that can play multiple roles. So Akil now is more of a bowler than a batsman.
Yeah, fair.
An exceptional fielder, just like Allen himself. But yeah, I think we should. I don't mind losing, as I said, and I don't mind giving some young guys a run, so you can maybe pick out 3 or 4 or so, whatever it is, that can go with the other big name players that will obviously come back. So yeah, that's my thoughts really.
All right, cool.
Pakistan was basically the Pakistan team that went to the World Cup.
Cool. Producer, bring up back Kim's comment before we go to the one, please, because I want to give this to Rowan. So no man, the one before that. You can. You were saying, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the top nations have core players and probably make 1 and 2 changes. Now, Rowan, he's talking about, because he mentioned Ravi Rampal and stuff, to move away from those kind of old guards, and this team will just start to do them. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that in terms of moving forward? I think Michelle and others have the same.
It's interesting, Demo, that he raised this particular question, because remember at the start of this particular series that we're here dissecting, remember that Pakistan took the brave decision to not recall Hassan Ali.
Yep.
Imad Wazin, who had for quite a while been their go-to new ball bowler alongside Shaheen Shah Afridi, and also Shoaib Malik. I mentioned Shoaib Malik because we know Shoaib Malik has been a stalwart
Yeah.
for Pakistan. Initially burst on the scene as a very good off-break bowler, mirrored the style of Sacklin, but he was caught for chucking, so he had to remodel himself, became a good batsman. But those three who you would have considered to be players who would have been in and around the squad, and the reason given by Mohammed Wazim, former Pakistan cricketer, chairman of selectors, was that they wanted to stick to a particular core that had done well. So in answering that, I think that is what we find that the teams are now trying their best to do. Obviously, there are going to be extraneous variables, injuries, coronavirus, other extenuating factors, but you really try to see with a particular core so that you can develop winning traits, being able as a collective to face adversity together. So there are so many pros to having a particular course. So I think we need to move in that direction. So as I said before, and I think we're all in consensus here, is that if we are going to not play the older players because that's the path we want to take, then it needs to be clearly defined, as opposed to you're selecting players who are not necessarily far off another person's chronological age when their performances are basically on par. So I think we need a clear idea as to the way forward, and that we can start being able to identify a particular core so that we can see these players over an extended period together.
Well said, well said. And I think all of us are in agreement. I think, but for me, I still believe that Ravi Rampal is there. But in terms of having a core and selecting from these guys and using them, I guess we're going to get into that further on. But as we look forward now and start to get into the game, I'm just going to ask the producer to bring up the batting statistics for me, please, because we're moving into the game, yeah. And big up Alric. I'm not sure if it's the Alric from the sports decks, but if it is you, you're an awesome cricket man. Big up yourself. So first of all, the wickets there. He says, "Good night, gents. We have a good crop of young players coming through to replace the old guard. They just need to garner the requisite experience. This series is a step in gaining that experience, and that's fine. I definitely agree. I just don't like losing games. That's just my thing. I like win, and if you ask anybody a foreign, if you ask Steve Butner, that's just how I am. It's just me. I don't like to lose. So, producer, bring up the batting stats for me, please, in terms of the highest run scorers and stuff like this. Because coming into this game, the batting tracks over there seems like they were batting paradise. Like once you get in on that, you're in to set a lot of runs. Yeah, and so as you can see there, the most runs were scored by Rizwan, who has been having an awesome year or plus. Scored 203 runs in 3 games at an average of 67. That is just unheard of. And again, a guy who was in my draft. But I won't say anything because remember that I lost that job. But we'll talk more about that next time. Brandon King, like I said, him shut me up. Him shame me. I said that he didn't deserve his spot. I mean, probably he could have gone, seeing that I didn't know who was going to open. I had Kyle Mears to be the opener in the T20 squad because I didn't know who was going to open. But since they were taking him, he probably had a shot. He ended up with 111 runs from his 3 games. He looked so smooth scoring those runs. And even though we did cuss him out, it's like he's second run scorer behind Rizwan, and that's no easy thing to do. Puran is also there, stepped up as a skipper, did his thing, 108 runs at an average of 36, not too bad. And Haider Ali and Baba Azam, who started very slowly, Baba Azam picked up there in the last couple of games. So, guys, what did you make of our batting performance? Seeing that for me, seemed like the pitches were awesome for batting. West Indies, 2 West Indian players are in there in the top 5, think that's pretty decent. But what do you guys make of it? And first of all, in the first game of add this to it when you're dissecting. First game, Puran won the toss, and in typical Pollard style, decided that he was going to field first after winning the toss. So Puran cost the team in the second game, though, Mr. Host. Well, I'll let the others dissect it. So I'm going to start with Devin this time. The batting in general. You can take it off now. Well, Levon, I don't know if any other guys are going to use it, but the batting for the West Indies guys. What do you make of it, Devin, in terms of the games?
Like these pitches were nice pitches. So, you know what I mean? We could have had more runs. Like, we talk about selection. I don't know why Hope is in this in this setup. You know what I mean? Because if it's 1 day, that's fine. But like, these are pitches where Hope should be at least scoring some runs. If he's not clicking at the strike rate of whatever, at least you're out there like going. If it was even like a 110, you know, strike rate, but like, there's no devil in these pitches. You know what I mean? And then I know we're probably gonna get into it. Like, people were talking about like, all right, what about them Romario Shepherd? What about them Drakes? What about them guys coming in? Right? I know it's just a small sample size and just a one game, but like, I was expecting like more runs to be scored by all of these guys coming, just try and make use of the opportunity. You know, we don't have a great talent pool like a Pakistan or other team, but so when you come in, you try and score as much runs as well, and like try and make a name for yourself as quickly as possible. Because now is the best time to be making runs. Because, yo, most of those other guys, some guys, Gale won't be around anymore. Simmons, I think they're gonna look past Simmons. You know what I mean? Bravo, he retired. So now is the time like to just take the opportunity and like make some runs. You don't give the selectors any doubt for you not to be in the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, Hope, definitely, I don't know. We gotta look past Hope for this T20. I don't know, because we didn't have enough players, right? And like the younger players, I was expecting them some more runs. Rodman, Powell, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah. Wait, nobody beat the money. Wait, let me read that comment from Ali. I was really disappointed with our bowling efforts. We're going to get there right after this, Ali. The match today showed up our lack of quality in the bowling department. Edwards Jr. has fallen off from his earlier performance this year. Yeah, I think you're talking about the Australia series where he was excellent. Him just drop off. But yeah, we're gonna get there. Yeah, Ryan, what you made of our batting performances in those?
As the stats showed, some of the players came good in different games. However, we did not come good in one particular game in terms of a collective batting unit. The second game, we should have won that game, no doubt. We had Pakistan at like 127 for 6 after 16 or 17 overs, and got away and make 172. Then we were chasing it. All was going well, and then we just collapsed. And then we still came close to it because of Shepherd. So it shows that in terms of collectively, we weren't batting. They weren't batting together as a team. So today 1 man or 2 man come good, the next game, the next 2 man come good, and it is not enough to put up a big total or a total to chase a big total or anything for that matter. So the stats look good for some of the players, but in terms of the collectiveness of a team effort, it did not help us. So that is where we need to focus on right now, how to bat as a unit, how to pace innings and all of that. I know that it's a young team, as I said, obviously, earlier before, but at the end of the day, we have to, it's T20 cricket and there should be a pattern in terms of how we go about. If it's a big score, you know, you're going to come out and go hard, and, you know, we have to slow down at some point if you lose wicket or if you're in the middle overs or whatever it is. Yeah, but we need to have a plan in terms of how we go about things. Because when I go one beat poor and too bad, but you can't come out as a captain and say you don't. Obviously, you have to know these things. You have to know where you're going wrong. You have to say, okay, we mess up in the middle overs there, so chasing that, we need to fix that. Look back at the shot and say, all right, we never need to play that shot because we may have scored 8 runs off of the over already and we were on point and we played that bad shot there, so. And that cost us a wicket, which end up costing us the game. So those are the things we have to look at as a team. And say, all right, these are the small little mistakes that cost us to lose a game by only 7 runs. That 7 runs could have been a final or a semi-final. And yeah, these are the things we have to look at as a team and say, all right, we're going to fix these little mistakes because these little mistakes, fixing them 1-1, them can help us to win matches going forward.
Facts. Before I go to Rowan, Raj comment was Rovman is a big disappointment. The man sucks and should see West Indies colours. His teeth get fit sued Fabel on him. Listen, I told you guys, Rovman Powell was up here in the States, and he was playing. He just come up and he was playing in the the thing there. And he was just licking the ball all over the place. I think he was doing well in the T10 the other day. He was making a little bit of runs. So I don't know. He just come into this and I don't know what happened. But Rowan, coming to you now with our batting. Like the thing is, I think the guys, like, I like to talk about context on here, yeah? And for me, this is an excellent bowling lineup. Pakistan has one of the strongest bowling lineups in the world, and these guys are inexperienced cricketers. I know they're cricketers and they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do, but these Pakistan bowlers are excellent at what they do, yeah? So coming up against the Shaheen Shah, Freedies, and the Shadab Khans and all of these people, the Rouse of this world, how do you feel our batting held up in the 3 games?
As Ryan mentioned, there was no plan that you could definitively see. You saw when they went out to bat. Yes, I also agree with you, Dimo. Read the strength of the Pakistani bowling attack, and more importantly, the variety that particular attack bring. And when you look at some of the options that they left on the bench that I mentioned, like Hassan Ali, who has really come back post injury and done brilliantly, albeit at test level, but we know of his exploits with the white ball as well. So and Imad was in, so they were able to leave those players out, and they still had a very competent bowling attack that we were always going to be up against it. But I didn't see a plan in effect. I wasn't sure if we were going hard or we were trying to probably strike at probably 110, 120. So it was almost like there was an air of confusion when I sat and I watched the games, and that's my disappointment that I take from seeing the batting efforts. Today there was clear intent, and we saw where we would decide to go hard. But more importantly, we saw where initially King was just teeing off, and then we saw where Brooks got his eye in, and then he also upped the strike rate. I think he exited at the wrong time, because if he had stayed with 4, and then we would have gotten the score that I wanted, which would have been around 225, 230, which I think probably would have gotten us over the line. But I like what I saw today, but I need to see a definitive plan. If we're going to consolidate early and then try to go hard probably through the middle, or we're going to really try to cash in the power play. Because I think as I think as Ryan mentioned, our method that yes, I know some persons are in agreement, some persons are against it, where we have basically a team stacked of power hitters. I don't necessarily subscribe to that going forward, because I think we still need to have players who are able to adapt, and many times, guys, we have been found out especially on tracks where there is assistance provided for the bowlers, where basically that plan that seemed to be the right one going in, it's not able to be implemented based on the prevailing factors. So I think we need a clear plan, and we need also probably a bit more variety in our batting lineup. I think that's why they probably went for someone like Chase and Hope. They are not necessarily players I would want in my T20. Disappointed in Darren Bravo, because I think he had the game initially, guys, to be a success at white ball cricket. We have seen it in flashes, especially in CPL, where he's able to clear the boundaries, but he has fallen off. So I think going forward, we want a plan, and I want to see a bit more variety. Because yes, Smith, Allen, all of these young guys, Drakes, Shepard, they are all massive hitters of a cricket ball. But I don't think our batting lineup fills me with confidence, especially when we come up against quality bowling attacks on tracks that are not as flat and as loose as the one today.
Fair enough, fair enough. Very well said. And I know David mentioned hope earlier. I think, you know, with his success at the ODI level, I think that the selectors are saying that, you know, at some point they believe that, you know, he can bring the goods in the T20 format. Because otherwise from that, I had no idea what he was doing in the team. We spoke about that. I think that even when he was playing in the CPL, the Barbados team dropped him a few times because he wasn't making any runs. So, you know what I mean? So big up Anthony. Sorry for your good catch. He's a left arm spinner. I don't see West Indies playing him. Allen and Hussein in the same team. Yeah, they won't play together. That's for sure. Which leads us.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interject, Dimo, on that particular point. While I see that chain of thought, I can easily counter it. We play Smith, we play Shepard, we play Drakes. There are similar bowlers offering
That's true.
basically the same thing.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we also need to have guys. Yes, we want to have players who are able to contribute with the bat, with the ball in the field, because that's how the game is played now. We have moved away from specialists, but we still need to have a core of players who we can give the ball to and say, all right, you know what, this guy will give me 4 overs. Sometimes 4 overs for 40 is good based on the nature of the pitch.
Yeah.
But those guys, they are not filling me with confidence, whether batting or bowling, that they are consistent enough, because I think we have this proliferation, guys, of players who, in another generation, they were called bits and pieces cricketers, where they're able to contribute, but they are not defined as being batsmen who bowl or bowlers who can bat. They're almost 6 or 1, half dozen the other. So I think I would counter that argument by saying, but we are normally filling the team with because remember, guys, when we had the conundrum with Sammy, with Pollard, with Bravo, basically players of the same nature, right? And we thought that we had too many of those types of players to fill the particular roles, especially in the middle order. So I think I need to see at least 2 of those 3 players playing every game until they show me that their performances. And in some cases, I would use 3, because some pitches and in some conditions, you really need to take the pace off the ball as opposed. Because today, we're the extra pace of Thomas. Once he came into the attack, Baba Azam just shifted gears and he enjoyed that added pace. So if you are not going to put the ball there with intent, you're just putting your opportunity sake, that extra pace is going to disappear. So I think those 3 could very well play in a number of matches going forward.
To support your point for a second, just 1 second, just to support your point, the big teams nowadays, they are using more spinners because the stats show that spinners take more wickets.
Precisely.
In T20 right now.
Precisely.
That's so true. Devin, you all right, brother? You good? All right, David has left us for a bit. I saw a comment about Neil Smith and Seals earlier. I just want to point out, I was going to mention it earlier in the show. He said that, Anthony said that they would do well in this format. So Seals, he was doing well in the Lankan Premier League. He was in the top 5 at one point with 7 wickets in that league. So he was bowling well. So we just want to big up Seals over there in Sri Lanka doing his thing. So big up yourself, Jaden Seals, and yeah, I think he would do well too, but I guess they don't want to overwork him at such a young age, just coming through in the test team and all of this thing. All right, so this leads us perfectly to our bowling performances in the game, right? Before we'll go on to some other stuff. So I have here with me, right? Before we get to these stats on the screen, because no, you can't leave them up, producer. Leave them up. It not gonna fit. Yeah. So I just want you to get. Devin isn't feeling well, so he has to leave us. So just go and remember him. All right. Hope you feel better soon, Devin. Big up. I have before me some run rates in this game. like Smith 14, these are run rates. 14, 8, 11.33. Thomas 9, 11.67, 12.50 from 2 overs. Shepherd 10.75, 9.67, 13.83. Dominic Drakes 10.75, 11.33, 9.25. And Hayden Walsh 7.50, and on and on and on. The one man that went under 5 is Akil Hussein. In these 2 games that he played, he went for 4 apiece. Now, on these stats, you're going to see the leading wicket takers. Yeah, and Wasim is there, Shaheen Afridi is there, and our 2 bowlers are there. So we have 2 batsmen making the most runs, and 2 of our bowlers in the wickets column as well. But I don't know what you guys made. And the wickets are there, what, 4 apiece for Smith and Shepherd. I don't know what you guys made of our bowling attack. Apart from, obviously, Hussein, who stand out, and he played 2 games, 1 for 19 and 1 for 16. He was excellent for me. Yeah? I don't know what you guys made of this bowling lineup, because for me, once Cottrell got COVID, for me, there was no leaders. There's no leader of the bowling attack. And it was just very inexperienced. I mean, the whole team is inexperienced, but the bowling attack is very inexperienced. Yeah. So I don't know what you guys made about the bowling attack. So Rowan, let's start with you this time. Like, what do you make of our bowl? Even though Shepherd and Smith is in the wickets columns, what do you make of our bowling attack?
Yes, they're there in terms of the wickets, but very concerning was their inability to bowl to a particular plan, if there was one to begin with. I'm not bashing on Pourans. I'm going to give you the benefit of that there must have been some plan initially constructed. And as I mentioned, I always go back to this. Whether you're playing red ball cricket, guys, whether you're playing like a curry goat cricket, and as a bowler, I think you need to put the ball there with intent. And if you're going to go full, you have to be targeting the stumps. I think that's why Wasim he was able to hit the stumps regularly, and he's much quicker than he looks, guys. Because on first viewing, you would think, oh, he's probably about 130 clicks, but he was pushing the speed going up to 145. And if you bowl at that pace, and you have a slippery action, then you are going to hustle the batsman, and that's why he sits atop the wicket taking column. But our bowlers, they just were unable to bowl that particular length that would have been able to restrict the likes of Rizwan, who basically just dined out on the lollipops that were on offer. And the thing is, guys, it wasn't just the medium pacers who were at fault. As it was alluded to earlier, Hayden Walsh disappointed so much. And this is basically a continuation of his poor performances, because I think he's also one who is going to face some time on the sidelines going forward, because I'm not picking Hayden Walsh because he is a right leg break bowler over a left arm spinner, just because you want variety. So so I think he may be a bit long in the tooth if this continues from him. So I was not impressed at all with the bowling efforts. Just lack of intent. The man who I wanted to be the point of difference, because we don't have the left arm variety that you mentioned that would have gotten from Cottrell, because he wasn't there.
Yeah, I think Rowan froze. Yeah, wait, who?
Like Larry.
Hold on, I'm not sure who entered the chat. Who is that in the chat?
Producer himself, man.
With the brand, I thought that was Brandon King coming to attack me. You know, I was like, what go on?
But I was just
wait the level. I just want to say the last thing here before you talk. The bowling. Just look at the disparity in the economy rate in terms of for Pakistan and for West Indies. Like Odin Smith in there at 28 and Shepherd at 31 compared to 15 and 15 and like yeah, you can tell like it was definitely all over the place as Alric was saying. They didn't bowl in the right areas, and today's match it was very evident. Pakistan was able to chase down 208 runs with 7 balls to spare. And this was the last thing I wanted to say, Levon. No, you know what, I'm gonna save it till when we wrap up. Go ahead.
All right, I was just about to agree with Ron, because even if you look at the Pakistani bowling, right, you notice that it's only Mohammad Aznan who actually never followed according to what they wanted, because every other fast bowler that they used bowled to a particular plan. He was the one that basically did what the West Indian bowlers were doing. Ball short without any sort of plan, and he was whacked all over. I believe it was either the first game or the second game with Aiden Walsh where I think it was Jeff Dojan who was on commentary and he keep on saying that why is it that this man is afraid to pitch the ball up? He kept on bowling some off checkers, and the moment he bowled it is the moment he got whacked. So it just seems like all these bowlers never had that particular plan. Only Akil Hosseini can say, yes, this man knows what he's about and knew where exactly to bowl. Otherwise, the bowling performance was awful, man.
I definitely agree. And the guys who call for the Dominic Drakes and the Shepherds and the Thomas and all of these people, you know, they need to step up a bit. Ryan, give us a take on the bowling.
Yeah, 3 games and you get 4 wickets, but then you go for over 10 or 11. It shows that you are not penetrative. It shows that you just got wickets without working for them. You know, because if a team is making 200 and odd for 4 or 5 and you get a 1 wicket there or 2 wicket there, you just basically get a wicket. You weren't penetrative for that wicket, because a man can be going at you and miss time one, or a player in the deep take a brilliant catch that was going for 6 and it ended up being a wicket. So looking at the stats, there is nothing to take from our bowling as a unit. The Pakistanis now, when you look at their numbers, the Afridi and the Rauf, you can see that these guys were bowling towards a plan that the team have a plan. But I can't make out what West Indies plan is. They don't seem to have one in batting, bowling, or maybe even fielding. So there's nothing to take out of this. Because if you go for so much runs and you end up get a wicket, that is neither here nor there.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And remember, oh no, you weren't here, but we spoke about the squads, and I mean, I guess it's a good thing that the ODI cancelled, because Odin Smith was also in that, and I had a major problem with Smith being in that ODI team, especially. I don't know if we were going to use him as the Andre Russell to be the batting all-rounder, but in the Super 50, that guy hardly bowled in 10. I don't know if he can bowl 10 overs. And people were cussing when he didn't go to the World Cup after he failed his fitness test, and we can see why he failed the fitness test. So no him pass. Like the man literally in the Super 50 in bowl, 22 overs in 4 matches, 3 wickets at 45. Like it just, for me, I don't see him as this all savior bowler that everybody is saying, oh, he's the fastest man in the West Indies and all of this.
O'Shane Thomas fast and him get hit. So
yeah, so I think we need to kind of pump the brakes with the whole thing. Give him some time and think. So to be fair, Rizwan got dropped by Puran when Moti was bowling. That's true. But drop catches happen in cricket all the time, and you know, we just have to look past it and move on. All right, so we're coming to a close in a bit, all right? And we're going to do a quick, we have like about 10 minutes. What I want to do, that's why I didn't want to go to the game specifically one by one and go through each of them, because we're going to do a quick player ratings for players, and then I'm going to have Rowan, we're going to discuss a bit about the Ashes. I don't know if you're watching it, Ryan, but I had no chance to watch the first couple things of the Ashes. But I just wanted to say, like I said, put everything in context. Pakistan are a great team, yeah? They consistently score 200 at Karachi, and we restricted them a couple times. So they're ranked 3rd in the world, a tough team. But I want to ask this question before we go into the player ratings. Yeah? Do you guys think that any of these inexperienced players has made it harder for the selectors to bring back, the Hetmeyer, Holder, Russell, and Lewis? Like, you think they have a hard selection picking back these guys? None of them put up.
I think what happened, I think what this series, what they were looking for is maybe to bolster the squad. Because those guys will be the main men going forward. So I think what they were looking at is like the Drakes and the Smith and so to see, and even Morty to see, okay, can we, if we are going to pick a 15-man squad and we already have 11 names, who are the other 4? So I think that's what they were looking for more than to say, to take their games, to take their places.
All right, cool, Ron. You agree? No, they don't make selection harder.
I agree with Ryan's assessment. They did not make it harder, but I think there was a preconceived plan by the selectors that yes, the Hetmeyer is frustrating, and I think he probably could be discussed for an entire show because this is a player who has really not hit the straps like all of us would have expected based on his exploits at under 90 level and all that. But notwithstanding, I think we wanted to see probably 4 or 5 players who could really add to the core that we would have already had with the players that you rightfully mentioned. So I think that was why these players were given an opportunity. And I'm not sure who was the person who had said that that initially. Oh, I think it was Devin before he went that we would have expected or wanted to see a bit more of the Guyanese spinner Moti. I think 1 game is too small an opportunity to give to in a series that you obviously were using to basically blood the new players. I see where Michelle asked a question about the fitness level of the players. I do not think that they are fit enough. And I think that is a big factor because you mentioned Odin Smith and his inability to bowl consistently, and this is what always amuses me, guys. Quickly, when people will talk up like O'Shane Thomas, now talking up Odin Smith, and you're unable to bowl more than 5 overs at serious pace. That's almost like a joke because what people do not realize that many of these bowlers who are on the international scene, they are really bowling within themselves because you will see on occasions they can really slip the handbrake and they can really, because even like Pat Cummins now, Pat Cummins, he bowls regularly probably around 141, 142 for people of a different era, that's around 87, 88 miles per hour. But on occasion, when he feels, especially in a T20 game, he can really get close to 150. We see that with KG Rabada. Yes, Norkia is a bit quicker than him now, but Rabada can still get to 150 if he wants. So it's not a case where bowlers can't, but because they are now trying to have a purview where they want to bowl to a particular plan. And it doesn't make sense if you're supposed to be a tearaway fast bowler, guys, and you only give me 4 overs of genuine pace. Someone like a Mark Wood that's genuinely quick. You understand? A Lucky Ferguson, genuinely quick, can come back spell after spell, and there's intensity. Yes, the Wild Thing, Sean Tate, Shane Bond, all those are genuinely quick bowlers who did it spell upon spell, not bowlers who bowl 4 overs and then they are gassed and they can barely get to the end of their run up. It's a joke. So I agree with you, Michelle. If that's your line of thinking by asking that question, yes, I do not think that the players are fit enough, and it is obvious in their performances.
Yeah, but Rowan, I don't know if you were watching the cricket shows over the past, but I had John Campbell here explaining what the fitness test is, because a lot of people came at me when I said that the guys failed, and it should not. We need to stop blaming the selectors when they tell us that people fail the fitness test and start blaming these young Rutherford and these guys in them 20s.
Like,
can't do a yo-yo. Like, no, blame the players and leave the West Indies selectors. It's crazy. You know what I mean? And there need to be a lot. I don't see that happening anywhere else in the world. You know, Papua New Guinea, no nothing. You know, only West Indies. But we want to get through this quickly so we can give you some time to talk about the Ashes. So we're gonna do a quick player ratings. We're going to start with the batsmen. We're starting with Shea Hope, and this is graded out of 10, guys. So Shea Hope played 2 games, 31 and 1, so he made 2 runs. Then he, unfortunately, he got COVID. So 31, and then he made 1. Where you can rate him out of 10 for his, series performance at the top of the order. Ryan.
3.
3. All right. Rowan.
Agreed.
Wow. You're not judging wicket keeping. Remember when he dropped that catch? He took the one afterward. All right. I think I'd agree.
And the 3 is it's not even the runs because sometimes we cricket minds know it's T20 it's not just the runs but it's also the strike rate, very important.
Exactly.
So if you're making 20 but you're hitting at almost 200, then that's excellent. Because you're not using up a lot of deliveries and all of that. So I think 3 is warranted based on the fact he didn't make a lot of runs, and more importantly, he didn't give us that acceleration needed at the top of the order.
Facts. And that's why my call for Raheem Jimbo Cornwall will continue to go on. Anyway, moving on. Brandon King. West Indies are obviously now looking to find an opening partner with Evan Lewis. Brandon King came in for a lot of stick by me. He made 167, 43, a total of 111 runs. He was in the top 5 in terms of run scoring. What would you give Brandon King? Rowan, you start this time. Rowan.
I would give Brandon probably 7. I'll give him 7. Reason being, I wanted him to go on to really put his foot on the throat of the Pakistani bowlers. I think he left some runs out there. He will tell you that because he was going great guns and then at crucial stages of our innings, and especially seeing how the others around him subsequently performed. I think 7.5 for me, strictly because of the fact that he could have, and in my eyes, he should have capitalized on those blazing starts that he gave the team.
Agreed. Just a couple comments here. Brandon King 7 for Alric. He's saying Hope is also making it very difficult to justify his selection. I've talked about Hope a lot, and Raj gave 2 to Hope, and he gave Brandon King 6.5. Ryan King.
Yeah, 7.5. The reason for that is I'm judging him as Brandon King, the inexperienced cricketer. He made 2 good scores. If it was a person like Evan Lewis, maybe it would be a 6.5, based on the fact that he left runs out there, as you guys said. But I'm judging him as Brandon King, and he gave me 2 good scores against the best bowling attack in the world.
Facts. Michelle is saying King behaved like a prince. He could have exerted his authority more. I give him a 6.5. That is harsh. I thought King was good, and media beat him at the start. I think I'll probably give him a 7.5 too. We're going to go to Nicholas Puran, our captain. So we're going to be judging him on his captain, which I thought was horrendous at times, and also him as a batsman. He made 18, 26, and 64. Made 108 runs. He was also in the top 5 in the series. Ryan, where you give Puran or skipper?
5.5.
Wow.
Not for the batting. 1.5 good score, because the standard for T20 is 30 and above. So 1.5 good score. And the captain say I didn't see the Brandon King that I saw in the Australian
Puran.
Sorry, Puran that I saw in the Australian series. So he lose points for the captain. So it could have been a 6.5, but he lost a point.
Wow. Raj gave him a 4.5 minus 1 as the skipper. Harsh. Rowan.
4.5 as a batsman. I'll tell you why. I'm looking past the score today, and today was the game where he actually teed off and really showed us the Nicholas Puran. But it was a dead rubber, guys. We can't look past that. We were already defeated, and he didn't come to the party when it was really important in my eyes. I think his dismissal in match 2
Yeah.
basically said the cat amongst the pigeons, and I think that is where my sort of disappointment is with him, and I expected him as the captain to lead from the front. So I think I can't give him more than a 4. And his captain it left a lot to be desired. Expected more from him. So as a captain, I would probably give him a 2. As a batsman, a 4 if I'm being generous. 4.5, but can't get 5 for me because I think he should have exerted more in games 1 and 2 to get us over the line, especially in game 2.
Yeah, that's very true. First, before I read that, Michelle is saying Puran was poor without the an -5. That boy, Michelle judged really hard. Alric is saying Puran will get a 6 for me. Leading an inexperienced team was always going to be difficult. I agree. Third most runs in the series. Yeah, I mean, I know Ron is saying it's in a dead rubber game, but nobody wants to be whitewashed. So I thought they were playing for pride. I think it's harsh to give Puran anything less than a 6. It's very hard to lead an inexperienced team, and he himself is inexperienced. So I get where you guys are coming from, though. The next batsman probably shouldn't. Oh, she meant 5. Yeah, I'll take the 5. Brooks, Shamar Brooks, he made 5, 10, and then 49 today in the dead rubber. Which, by the way, I need to say this. West Indies always seem to do this over the years. When the match not count for nothing, you see them start push out a lot of effort. But
That's true.
5, 10, and 49, total of 64 runs throughout the series, playing 3 games. Brooks, Rowan, not Ryan, Rowan.
I'm giving Brooks. I can't give him more than 3 because, as I said before, I don't put much credence on games of insignificance. Even if we had gotten whitewash, it's still because for me, guys, I was more interested in how we competed across the first 2 games than anything else. So he in those 2 games he didn't contribute much with the bat. Yes, he made 49 today. Looked the player who we want to see at the top end of the order because he plays technically correct strokes, and he's able to consolidate, and he can also clear the boundaries. So I think there's still a place for him going forward, but on the evidence that we saw over these 3 games, can't give him more than 4, and the 4 is generous because of what he did in this third and, in my eyes, inconsequential last game.
You don't think like he's catching. I thought he caught well. I'm just putting it out there. Rad says because he was in the team, not by choice. Yeah, because of the COVID thing, he came in. And Rowan, I know you said he has a space in this team going forward, but for me, if you're gonna use Chase, I don't see us using Brooks.
No, but sorry to cut in.
Yeah, man.
Yes, it's one of the 2 because
Okay.
I can't, and if you somehow throw Shea Hope's name in, you can't have so
Yeah.
many players of
Yeah.
that, and that's the same conundrum. Listen, guys, which is strange and it's amusing to me, where they are sometimes saying that for India, it's difficult to have Kohli and Sharma in the top 3, and that almost yes, we know they're spoiled for choices, but the thinking is the same like what we have. Yes, our players are not of that quality, but because those players are players who are risk-free players who tend to accumulate more than tee off. So if India doesn't want them, then what says us? So while I definitely want one of those players, someone who is able to rotate and to rebuild and then eventually go big. I can't see 2 or 3 of those playing in any level at the same time.
Fair. What was your ratings for him? 4?
Yes, I gave him a 4.
All right. Big up Leon Price who joined in from Mannings in YouTube. Big up Mannings man at I Am Sure Sports. Michelle giving Brooks a 3.5, and Alric is saying he gets a 4. He needs to play his game and hold the innings together. He made 64 runs in total, and his ISO was 49. Oh yeah, I said that already. 4 returns from 3 innings. Ryan, where you give Brooks?
4.
4 as well. All right, nothing more.
Nothing. What's about that?
All right. the great man himself, Rovman Powell, 23, 23, 4 and 6 overall, 33 runs in the series. Think he fielded well. I mean, he dropped a catch today, but he fielded well, decent. Ryan, we agree. Powell.
2.
All right, 2
No,
for
Rodman I've been around a while now, and he was supposed to be when he was a younger player coming through, he was supposed to
Yep.
be the next person to be one of the better players for West Indies, and he has regressed a lot. So he doesn't deserve anything more than 2.
Once that man sees somebody who turn them on and bowl like a spin, him confused. But anyway, Ron, wait till you Rovman.
I agree with Ryan. 2 is agreed. I would give him, and the thought process is the same because I just think he is someone who really should be giving us far more than we're getting. It's more style over substance for Powell, and yes, when we see him in franchise cricket, and he's able to play so freely. But once he plays for the West Indies, we're hardly ever
Yep,
seeing the same
yep.
player. So sometimes you're scratching your head. So 2 can't give him more than that because he's just disappointed, which he has done more often times than not.
Yeah, so Roger saying 2 is being generous. You get -10, Mosisiba question this side. Michelle is saying, I wish he would stop playing. I'm seeing no progress. He gets a 2. And that is so true. He's not progressing. And I think that's one of the biggest issues for Rovman Powell. He's not progressing at all. Kind of like Oshie Thomas, but we'll get to him. So Dominic Drakes, he made. I mean, we're judging him as a bowler and a batsman. Like he made 5 and ducks. He got what? I think he took 2 wickets, and went at 10.75, 11.73, and 9.25. A lot of people were expecting big things, filling the boots of Obed McCoy. Yeah, we say for Dominic Drake's run.
Oh, flattered to deceive. And I know there was skepticism initially because of his surname. Some persons weren't convinced. I think he has a game going forward, though, guys. To leave an impact. I like what he brings, but my reluctance to play so many players of the same skill set will always have question marks over whether it is Drake's until he convinces me otherwise. Drake's, Shepard, Smith. I think they offer basically the same. I think they're probably too many cooks going to spoil this broth for me. So I wasn't impressed. I expected a bit more. So it's difficult to give him as an all-round package more than 3. Didn't exert enough control with the ball, and I didn't get enough from him as the big power hitter that he has been billed to be. As a matter of fact, on second viewing as an all-round package, I'll give him a 4 because it's difficult to grade an all-round and to take them apart because in his case he's not a batsman who bowls, he's a bowler who bats.
Exactly.
He's just an all-rounder, or a bits and pieces cricketer. So I'll give him a 4 based on what he showed with bat and ball and also in the field.
Fair. Leon say West Indies have played drop bomb, but the line and length was horrendous to watch. I definitely agree with that. And he gave Drake's 1.5. Ryan, Drake's.
When Drake's made the squad, I was excited because the Drakes that I saw in CPL, I was saying, okay, let us see what he can do at the highest level, and he flopped me, let me down. So
Yeah.
I was expecting more from him based on, as I said, his CPL exploits and how he won the game for his team and how he was progressing and all of that. But he went on he got a chance on a flat pitch, even though you're playing the best attack in the world, it's still a flat pitch. So he let me down big time. So I'm going to give him nothing more than a 3.
All right, that's fair. Moving on now to Shepard. As a batsman, he made 21, 35. He batted twice. 56 runs in total. In terms of wickets, he got 2, 3, 4. He's up there. Went for 10.75, 13.83, and one of the games he went for 9.67. So Shepherd as an all-rounder, I guess we can call him. Rowan, what are we giving him?
I'll give him a 5 because the 56 runs, let's be fair to him, it came at a fair clip. He really teed off. In the second game, he got us close, and that was a crucial game. He didn't bat, obviously, in the third time of asking. But I think he is someone who didn't bowl well enough for me. The numbers that you just you just read out lay that square on the table. That here is a bowler who lacked control. But I'll give him a 5 based on what he did with the bat. The runs that he made coming in so late, and the strike rate that he, and also the fact that yes, he did take wickets even though he went at quite a bit,
Yeah,
because
31.
13 runs 14, 15 runs per over. It's far too much, and you see here 31 runs. That's way too much. So I'll give him a 5 because of the exploits, primarily with the bat.
Fear. Ryan, go ahead. Oh, Michelle saying Drake wanted Drake up 3.5. I mean, I give him a blind and just start. But Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, he did well with the bat. The ball, everybody basically flopped with the ball apart from Hussein. So
Yep.
I don't know how badly I can beat him for that. But with the bat, he almost won us the second game. That game we should have won, and if yet somebody had bat with a little more sense and stayed with him, we would have won that game. So he get points for me for that. So I'm going to give him a 5 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Michelle says Shepherd, the 50 he got save him plus few wickets, so I'll give him 5.5. Yeah. All right. The man, Odin Smith, a lot of people call for him. I guess the new Andre Russell. Made 24 and 12, batted twice, so that's 36 runs. I guess I don't know if that was his primary role as a batsman, because as a bowler, again, he got 4 wickets, so he was up there as well. But let me give you his numbers by game. So Smith went 1 for 56, 2 for 24, and 1 for 34. So Ryan, may I stay with you? Where you get Odin?
Well, he's not getting anything for bowling, so
man up there at the leading wicket
yeah,
takers.
he's up there because people go at him. So somebody miss hit one ball and him get a wicket. That's it. It's not as if he was penetrative or he was that good a bowler or anything like that. So overall though, I think I'll give him a 4. He's new to T20, he's new to international cricket. And yeah, and 4. Nothing. I don't have much to say about him, to be honest.
All right, fair. Rowan?
I'll give him a 4 as well, and the 4 it's really based on his fleeting exploits with the bat. Showed that he can clear the boundary at will, but as a bowler, disappointed. And as I said before, he seemed on close inspection to be down in pace. Didn't seem the same bowler, and that may be fitness related. He may be carrying a niggle or something, but he definitely lacked a yard of pace. Didn't hustle the batsman as we had expected him to, based on what he had shown in the Caribbean early this year.
Fair. Raji's giving him a 4.5. Leona give him a 5. So pretty low scores here. But I expect things to change pretty soon. But I'm just going to get Oshane Thomas. I'm definitely not going to go for his runs because I should have sent Levon that picture, but I forgot. This man got bowled and he was just yawning down the place. Like say him just never have a care in the world after the match ended. But Oshane Thomas, game by numbers, he got 2 wickets, 1 for 38, 1 for 35. and none for 25 from 2 overs. So I think one of the games he was good. I think it was the first game, if I'm not mistaken. But O'Shane Thomas Rowan not progressed a bit for me. Bowling short and wide all the time. Doesn't find his line and length consistently. Rowan, how much are you giving him?
Well, he didn't contribute anything with the bat, so that goes out the window. And with the ball, you're generous. You said he was good in the first game. I think he was. I would probably say he was decent in the first game, but
Decent.
he reverted to type, guys. As we have mentioned, probably in informal discussions like this, or with friends on the corner or wherever, or across social media, that our biggest problem with the Jamaican baseman is his inability to put balls repeatedly in the same areas.
Yep.
He's either too full, where he basically strays and bowls full tosses, and at his space he's always going to go, and also if he's short and wide, because there's no problem with bowling short, but you have to be able to bowl short and basically be targeting the ribs,
Yep.
or the badge and the helmet. So I think that's where my issue lies with him. So with all that said, I can't give him more than a 2, because he didn't bring penetration, and he certainly did not bring economy, and he didn't contribute anything in the field or with the bat.
Too enough, boy. Lever, what is it?
All right. One thing I found out with you guys tonight is that you're too generous, and I keep on saying it in the comment section. There's no way O'Shane Thomas get 2. You know why? I think it was either the first game or the second game that man bowled a peach of a delivery to Rizwan, and the commentators were lauding him for it. You know what followed afterwards? One ball short on the hip. And if you know one thing about Rizwan over the past year, that man is going to pick you off easy off the hip. And he consistently bowled short and short and short, and it was whacked. And boy, as you said it, Demo, this is a youth that we were talking about from high school days. And from then till now, you can't see any improvements. And he went over to Barbados. We saw a little bit of improvement in the T20 in CBL.
Yeah.
But since then, it seems like the man has regressed a whole lot. You don't see any improvement with him, and you just either think that a lot of these guys are just like Tina Best, fast and foolish.
Yeah, I get it. I mean,
that was what I was trying to use as well, but
I mean, he was there in the T10 the other day, and man, I go for 50 in a spell, and then him come back and take a hat trick the next game, and then him travel again. So he's very inconsistent, and that's what you're going to get from O'Shane Thomas. I think a lot of people are just living off the hype of when he bowled on Chris Gayle so by in a park, and everybody met nice and get him with the first ball. That was his fame to claim for me. So I don't know. Michelle, no consistency, awful. I give him a 1. And here's Alric saying, I have never been impressed with O'Shane Thomas. He's quick, but he doesn't hit the right areas consistently. Yeah, that's everybody's problem. Ryan.
Well, he was consistent in this series, consistently getting hit, consistently bowling bad balls, consistently going for a lot of runs, consistently traveling. So he was consistent this series. He has not progressed. He has not been taking his chances when he has gotten an opportunity. There is nothing to say about O'Shane Thomas. I don't see where he fits into this team. So he brings nothing to West Indies, if we're going to be honest about it. He's just fast and foolish. So
I mean, the heads say he brings the X factor, the pace. So
that's fast and right up in the. That's how the batsman like it. Fast and right in their hitting zone.
Yeah, fair. So the man of the moment, obviously, Akil Hussain, unfortunately got hit with COVID, so he couldn't play the final game. But he didn't get a lot of wickets. He got 2 from his 2 games, 1 for 19 and 1 for 16. We know he can, but I know he can bat a bit. He didn't, do much with the bat. Didn't get a lot of opportunities to do so. Excellent fielder, Ryan. Where I give?
Yeah, those 2 games, you can't really ask for more. So I'm gonna give him an 8.5. You don't really ask for more. if your frontline bowler going for less than 5, you have to be happy with that. Even though he's not getting a lot of wickets, that doesn't matter because he's doing his job in terms of keeping the runs down. And normally that is what happened with top spinners of his like the Narines or support. They normally don't get a lot of wicket, but they don't go for a lot of runs. So you don't ask for much more than that. So 8.5.
Yeah. All right, fair. And that's the man who was in my draft. Akeal Hussain. I think he is our player of the series. I know he only played 2 games, but for me, he's the player of the series. I know enough people are gonna give Brandon King, but for me, Akeal Hussain is the player of the series for West Indies. Rowan, you're back. What would you give to the great man Akeal Hussain?
Definitely have to give him, based on what we saw across the 2 teams, for him to go for 4.75 in the first game when Pakistan hit 200, and then because to put it in context, guys, basically he's going for 20 runs for his 4 overs, right? He went for 19.
Yeah.
And the team went for 1. For the rest of the team conceded 180 runs across 16 overs. So that's basically 11 and a half runs per over for the next bowlers, while one bowler is going for 5. And then to back that up, yes, albeit in a lower scoring game, but to go for basically 16 runs across his 4 overs certainly has to be the player of the series. And he did these in the 2 crucial games. And he did this against rampaging Rizwan, who basically put the other bowlers to the sword. So definitely have to give him a 9. There's no way that Brandon King could in any fair assessment be given the player this. No, not what because when you look at what he did comparatively speaking against all the other bowlers, not just the bowlers, the much lauded FRENZZYY on the other side, all the other bowlers, he was by far and away the most economical bowler on show.
All right, that's definitely fair. So I'm just going to give special mentions to Darren Bravo. He played his 1 game, made 34 runs. I'm not gonna give him a rating. He just played 1. Devon Thomas also played, made 2 runs, broke his finger. Not gonna give him a rating. Alric is saying Akeal will have a bright future if he continues with this level of performance. I would give him 8. Economy rate was excellent. I definitely agree. So big up to those guys. The real player of the series, by the way, was Rizwan. This is all West Indians fan here, so I'm not going to be talking about the Pakistan players and their performances, but Rizwan got the man of the series from the 3 games. He was excellent, had a fantastic 2021. He
did.
Got to 2,000 runs in T20 cricket. Like, it's just mind-boggling numbers for him. But I'm not going to be here and talking about Pakistan. We're talking about West Indies, and we're running out of time. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Ashes, as Kemsey saying, great and very informative show thus far. I'll be ready to make my debut on the cricket show. That will not happen, sir. You can kick back and watch, but this bigger than your boss. All right. So guys, before we wrap up, I'm just going to I don't know if Ryan, if you did watch the Ashes.
Yeah, I've been watching some of it.
Okay, so Rowan watched the Ashes, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Ashes. I didn't watch a minute of it, so I'm going to just leave this to Rowan to go ahead and tell us what's been happening in the Ashes.
All right, guys. For the first day, I'm on the eve of the second test, because the second test has been played at Adelaide, and it's a pink ball test, so they're playing it under lights. Australia, well, they had to change because Hazelwood picked up a slight strain because so he was not going to play. Jai Richardson, who has been kicking his heels, came back from injury quicker than he actually looks. Able to get it to 140 and swing it about. He took Hazelwood's place, but then Pat Cummins, the Australian captain, he was in close contact with a COVID positive case the night before. He was out having having dinner. So he had to drop out. So Michael Nessa, who has been in and around Australian squads for better part of a decade, on this trial, he's probably similar to Ollie Robinson in type. So he's not quick, but he hits a length and he's able to nibble it. And on the lights, he will get that fractional movement. So he came in. And guess who captains Australia? Steve Smith.
Wow.
Yes,
course.
yes.
I think
Back in parties and in the first exchanges, guys, it was attritional cricket because Australia could not get the ball on the square. Broad and Anderson two all time, but Broad was able to play 150 test matches, which is a testament to his longevity alongside the ageless warrior James Anderson. So they were brought back in. We spoke about this a bit I think on a couple of shows previously that Mark Wood. I don't think he would have played because he has been played by injuries. He didn't play. The problem, guys, with England's attack, it was basically a sameness. Five. They went all pace demo. So Jack Leach, well, remember the first test he bowled 30 overs and he conceded 103 runs, which for the math people, that's basically 8 runs per over. So they went with an all-pace attack because Stokes showed that he was able to bowl on the eve of the test. So Wokes, Robinson, the two old-timers, as I mentioned, along with Ben Stokes, and then had Joe Root to provide some part-time off-break.
Give me a sec the Rowan. So you were mentioning it. So Stark and Lyon was at the same restaurant with Cummings, but they weren't in contact with the particular individual.
As opposed to Cummings, yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's how it happened. All right, cool. Go ahead.
Yes, so at the close of play score 221 for 2 after 89 overs. So that's basically just a shade over 2.3, 2.4 runs. So Australia did not necessarily get away, but you see the thing is, England's attack, while it was one that contained, they did not take their opportunities, and Josh Butler took a brilliant catch to dismiss the struggling Marcus Harris, but then he dropped a clanger off Labuschagne in the penultimate over, and Labuschagne is set. He is in the 90s. Steve Smith on 18 after 71 deliveries. So Steve Smith basically got his eye. And the thing is, guys, if you are going to take wickets, you have to take wickets in twilight when the lights are on and then the ball starts to move. But England, I think the problem was while they contained and they were able to restrict the Australians, because in the first test, Australia went at 4 runs per over when making a 432. It came in and basically blazed it in Adam Gilchrist style. But while they were containing the Australians this time around, there was a lack of penetration because I think they were bowled a fraction too short. Even someone like Anderson, who you know is someone who has used the game or being able to move the ball
and swing it.
And swing it, especially in conditions that you think would favor him. He was a bit too short on the day, probably lacking a bit of work, guys, because remember that he didn't play the first test. So I think he may very well bowl better when play resumes in just over an hour's time. So I think it's finally poised because yes, 221 for 2 Australia in the box seat, but if England is able to nip out a few early wickets, you still have a lower middle order that is not one that inspires confidence. Because look, they have Kiri, yes, we know he has talent coming at 7, and they have Cameron Green, who can be generational talent, but he hasn't yet done it with the bat. And then with the moving ball, and once Broad and especially Anderson get it going, they can really set the cat up most pigeons. So I expect a better performance from England with the ball on the second day, and they need to make early inroads, because if they allow Smith and Labuschagne to get entrenched, they may very well be steering the barrel of 450 score, which I think is a bit too much, especially in the pink ball test. I think they need to get them to about 350, and then they need to be able to put some runs on the board.
Yeah. Just before Ryan got, I was going to ask this because I saw the scores. Obviously, I didn't watch the highlights or anything. Warner out for 90 again. Like, how did he get out this time?
A short ball, he just slapped it to cover. But the thing is, he could have gone first ball to Broad. And the thing is, guys, the first test, we know of Warner's struggles against right bowlers when they come around the wicket. We saw it in the previous Ashes in England, albeit where Broad took him 7 times across the sea, and he made 95 runs. Couldn't get the ball out of the square. First ball, and there was this big build up, and the crescendo was Broad pitched it just about off stump, and he was saved because he shouldered arms, but the ball didn't tail away. It came down going with the angle, and he hit him on the pad, but the height saved him. And he was very, very watchful against Broad. And then guess what? The irony is that he got a short, wide ball, and he just slapped it. Oh, sorry, Stokes got him. My bad. Stokes was the one who got him short and wide, and he basically just slapped it into cover, because if he had gotten it either side, he would have been on 99, because it was a short, wide ball. And in the absence of Wood, quickly they had to use Stokes as the enforcer, and I think an extra piece of Wood would have been very, very good.
That's
especially with the dew that would set in at night. You know, the ball tends to come on a bit quicker, and with that extra pace and what he had shown in the first test, I think would have been a point of difference. But we can't cry about spin. I think England needs to lick their wounds and just regroup and to pitch the ball a fraction further, and they will get the results.
Fear. Ryan, I don't know if not left for you say after all of that, but you can try.
Well, I can just revert back to the first test. When going into the series, when I look at the England team, I said this is a Joe Root or nothing team. I said the same thing in the Australia series. They lost that series, but it was Joe Root who I think was man of the series, if I'm not mistaken. And he was the one who prevented them from getting potentially a whitewash. So it's the same thing with this series now. It's a Joe Root or nothing. England goes as far as Joe Root goes. The first innings, they got massacred. The second innings, they came back and they were like 220 for 2, needing to hit off 275 and to make Australia, but to start to set runs for Australia to bat again. But then they collapsed. Joe Root went for 89 or something like that.
Yep.
And the entire team just collapsed for 297 and gave Australia.
Malan.
Yeah, Malan as well. So what happens is England need Root to perform, and hopefully 2 or 3 other batsmen around him can maybe average 30 odd in this series to give them a fighting chance. I don't see England winning this series, and it can also be another whitewash like about 10 or 15. I don't remember how long ago it was the last time we got whitewashed out there, but it was about 10 to 12 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
As for Australia, by the way, Stuart Broad was angry that he wasn't picked in the first game because he was fit, and they came out and said that he wasn't fit. But Broad said that he was fit. But I think what England is trying to do, they're trying to conserve Broad and Jimmy. So I don't think either of them will play more than 3 tests. But I think if the aim is to play them for 3 tests, I don't think you should leave out the 2 of them at the same time, because what that does is to weaken your team by a lot. Because the other players that are there, even though Broad is 36 and Jimmy is 39, they are still the 2 best bowlers England have. So I don't think it is prudent to leave out both of them at the same time. But I don't think they will play more than 3 tests based on the workload and what they're trying to do with them and so forth.
Yeah.
So as I say, I don't see England winning this series. Tonight will be an interesting night. If England loses this test, which is the test that they have the best chance in based on the conditions, I don't know how much tests. Ron, by chance, do you know how much day-night test they're having?
They have 2, so they have one more. They have one more in Hobart.
One more after. Okay, so England might have an extra.
It was supposed to be in Perth, but they had to move the the test matches from Western Australia. So it will be played, I think, in Tasmania at Hobart.
Okay, Hobart. Okay, cool. So I don't see England winning any test that is not a day-night test based on the condition that day-night come in the moving ball. I know that is suitable for Jimmy and Broad.
Broad.
Yeah. So outside of that, I don't give England much of a chance. At best 4-1. They will lose.
All right. Let me just take this comment as we wrap up. Excellent summary one. Defenders love the ball going across them, so when the right arm bowlers come around the wicket, it normally poses a problem. Yeah, I thought it was excellent. So I didn't watch the game, but I got the picture because I know what it is. So, guys, it's been brilliant having you with me here tonight. Ryan, it's a debut. They shell it down as usual. Excellent analysis, and thank you for being here. Big up Devin as well. He's not feeling well, so remember him. Hope you feel better, boss. And Ryan as well for coming on. So before we shut it off, though, I'm giving you a minute to mention anything you want to mention, like we always do on Sports Frenzy. I mean, we've gone a lot longer than we usually do on the cricket show because we don't really like talk long. But yeah. So Ryan, just take a minute to mention stuff, and then I'm gonna let the guru himself give us a minute.
Yeah, but as we said earlier, the West Indies team that was picked, I don't mind losing with those type of players, but I expect to see improvements. Some of the players like the Jamaicans, the O'Shane and the Rovman, they are experienced players, even though they don't play a lot of matches, but they're experienced players. I'd have expected more from them, and they flattered to deceive. So I don't see a pathway for them going forward as it stands right now, considering that we are going to bring back the bigger names and so forth. So they haven't made it. They haven't put themselves out there to be selected going forward. I think the Drakes and so forth, they should be given another opportunity, given that they are young players just getting a chance and so forth. I don't know what to make of Smith. I really don't know, because if you're unfit at that age, I don't know what to say about you. Anybody under 30, there is no reason for you to be unfit.
Yeah.
As a professional player. So the Ashes, I hope to see a good test match going forward. As I said, this is England's best chance to win a match based on the conditions and based on the fact that they have their two best bowlers to bowl it, to exploit that condition. So yeah, that's my minute.
All right, boss, big up. Michelle's final minute. Demo and producer, give Kems a bus on the cricket show. That will not happen. You can campaign all you want, that will not happen. Kems hardly know the sport the way he's supposed to be dominant at. I definitely won't allow him to embarrass himself on here on cricket. So, Rowan, go ahead and take a minute to talk about whatever. It doesn't have to be cricket, just whatever.
Yes, it's cricket, and it's an extension of the and England's. I spoke about the sameness of the attack. Basically, bowlers of the same pace, bringing the same line and length, and relying on movement. There's no point of difference, no different in terms of angle. So there's no left arm. There's no genuine quick because Wood didn't play. And I think it's travesty for someone like Silverwood, Graham Thorpe, also Joe, because they had banked guys on sheer pace in the form of Jofra Archer, Ollie Stone, and Wood. Wood is the only one who actually made it. And then without those two, because they were struck down by injuries, because we saw what Archer was able to do in his debut Ashes. He was able to ruffle the Australians. Hit Smith was repeatedly above 150 kilometers, even with his easy laid back approach to the wicket. He was just a breath of fresh air. And no, because those players are out, Wood can't play back to back because we know of his injuries. England finds themselves in a position where they basically have to feel a team that is almost stale in terms of what they bring. So once you get past Anderson and Broad, and Robinson and Wokes are going to give it the same, because yes, Wokes for a period had a yard a pace, but he's now back to around 136, about 85 miles per hour. And if the ball is not moving, the Australians are going to tee off, especially in Australian conditions where the ball tends to come on, to slide onto the bat, as opposed to English conditions where it's a bit slower and you can't really play through the lines. So I think that's why England had to use these players as opposed to bringing in other players, because they were basically
all right. It seemed like Rowan thing gone.
And then finds himself looking at using similar type bowlers to try to get to the Australia 2 times, and I don't think they have the attack and the wherewithal to get Australia out 2 times on this pitch, because even though we know it's the night, guys, the batting conditions are very, very good, especially in the daytime conditions. So it's not a case where it definitely must swing around corners. So you still have to put the ball here with intent, and I think England missed a trick on day 1. Looking forward to day 2 to see if they will get it right, pitch a bit fuller, and get the results, which I think Anderson and Broad can get on a pitch of this nature.
All right, boss. Well said. So it's just for me to do right. Again, thank you for coming on, boss. Great impact as usual. Thanks for staying on this long. Thanks to Ryan again. Thanks to Devin and everybody in the comment section who interactive and commenting and stuff. Big up on yourself. Continue to like, continue to share, continue to subscribe to the Sports Frenzy channel. I will be on vacation, so I'm not sure how Thursdays are gonna go. I might leave it in the capable hands of Rowan to take over. Who knows? You work on something. But big up on yourself, everybody in the comment section, and peace out. Have yourselves a blessed night, and big up.
Big up, Dimo.